Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to the shed. How is your day today? I hope all is well wherever you are in the world. Beautiful day here, and I want to talk to you about video game violence. Now, I don't know who suggested this topic. It was in the list, and so I put it on the calendar, and I did a lot of research about this. I'll put some links in the comments, or not in the description. And you can go research it yourself. I found one really good website that shows like pros and cons, kind of side by side, where they match, and gives a lot of really good sources. So it's definitely worth looking into. But I don't want to approach this from the data side, because personally I think that the data side is flawed, and you could argue either way. And I'll tell you why in a second. But I do want to point out a couple of stats, because I am approaching this as a father. I have 2 children. We all play video games, and I have to be cognizant of the way that they behave based on the environment that they're in. And you know, nature versus nurture is something that Jamie and I have discussed many times with our children. You know, how they act, where is that coming from, and we look at, you know, how our behavior has influenced them, and can we change that. So I wanted to point out that the American Psychological Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics both strongly suggest that you keep your kids away from violent video games, and they have said that 97% of children between the ages of 12 and 17 play video games. Okay, so that's, I could see that, I guess. 97% of children in the U.S., obviously, have played video games. And they claim that 85% of current video games feature some form of violence. And they say some form. All right. Now, some of the other sources that I found claimed 50%, and I think that this 85% is just not the right number. When they say some form of violence, I think that they literally mean, like, if somebody in the cartoon or in the video game smacks another person, then that's a violent video game. Okay, and I don't think that's what we're really implying. I think we're talking about blood and guts and games that glorify killing. Now, as a parent, do I want my little girls to play Saints Row? No, I don't think that's good for them. As an adult, do I enjoy playing it? No, the game's terrible. Like, it's a really bad game. It's not good, but the only reason it is good is because it's ridiculously graphic and stupid, and that's why people like it. The game itself is actually pretty bad. But anyway, this isn't about that. So what I'm thinking, you know, I don't think that we're talking about, does playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare equate to violence? No, I don't think so. That is much more like Battlefield 1, which is the current favorite. I don't see the correlation because those games have violence doesn't mean that they are promoting senseless violence or aggression. They are promoting a team-based combat experience, very similar to football. So does football cause violence? Yeah, that's to be debated. But the main point that I wanted to get to here is that during some of my research, I found that they'd have these weird numbers that these 2 associations would be like, well, 65% of children that play violent video games engage in aggressive and antisocial behavior, versus 49% that don't. And that's correlation, all right? And if you've ever taken a stats class, you'll learn very quickly the correlation does not imply causation. That's just stupid. You can't just say, well, 65% of children that play violent video games exhibit aggressive behavior. Okay, how about 65% of children that exhibit aggressive behavior play video games? Maybe it's the other way around, right? And that's where I want to take this. As a parent, Jamie and I, we've talked about our parenting style on the show before. We are very free range. We trust our kids to make good decisions, and we reward them for making good decisions, and we hope that builds in them a set of values that they personally don't enjoy. And I've seen it in action. My children love YouTube. Love it. They watch a lot of videos, and I can, without fail, if my daughter loads up a video and the person starts cursing, she changes she just picks a new, she's like, I'm not interested in that, right? So, I've seen that in action. I've seen her judgment in action, and I appreciate it, and I hope to foster that. So if she wants to play violent video games, I'm fine with it, because I don't think she's going to walk away from it thinking, that means I can go, punch people or be a bully. Because that's just no. Thomas McAllister. Gosh, Thomas. Let's try this again. Thomas McAllister said, I'm a fan of violent video games, but a promoter of peace in the real world. It's a catharsis. And that is what I agree with. Prior to video games, we had comic books, and people complained about violence and sex in comic books, and it promoted these behaviors. And now we have video games, and that's the new cool thing, so we can pick on that and say that, these things cause people to be violent. And in reality, no. I have read books, I've seen TV shows and movies that are way more violent and way more, promote violence way more positively than any video game I've ever played. But we don't, this is the, if 97% of kids are playing these games, then that's the new thing to pick on. Because 97% of these kids, 97% of this 97% aren't reading books. I guarantee you that. But if they did, and suddenly they found violent books, then we would be saying, hey, these violent books are causing my kids to act out. No, maybe you're just not a good parent. I didn't say that, did I? Did I say I said that? Anyway, the point is, correlation does not imply causation. That's the thing we have to learn. And if you've never taken stats class, what that means is, if two things seem to be relative, that doesn't mean that they cause each other. So one of my favorite examples is waking up or sleeping with your clothes and shoes on strongly correlates to you waking up with a hangover. So obviously, sleeping with your clothes and shoes on causes hangovers. No, right? Like, no, you can't. Just because those two things fit doesn't, And so you say, well, that's stupid because you do that when you're drunk and you're leaving exactly. You're leaving a portion of the pie out. You can't say that 65% of children that play violent video games cause violent behavior versus 49% that don't, and not take into account all the other stuff. Maybe they're playing the violent video games because that's what they associate with, because that's what they see at home, because they come from violent upbringings, or they have been put down and demeaned to the point that they need to act back because they feel like they are being held down. Okay? So you can't, so that's what correlation and causation means. So I don't, I did a lot of research. I did it, and even the pros, even the ones who were like, violence doesn't cause video game because this, still stuck to this bullcrap correlation and causation stuff. So both sides were wrong. The research was wrong on all sides, and I think that the message that I would like to deliver is just be a better parent. Just pay more attention to what your children are consuming. Engage with them more. Talk to them more about their feelings and their behaviors, and really get to know your child, and don't try to find something to blame, like video games. Playboard Games says, my wife and I were discussing this last night. She hates it. We keep it from our kids, but she doesn't even like it for me. So she hates violent video games. She doesn't even want him to play violent video games, and he's an adult. Take from that what you will. I understand it, I think that anybody who enjoys fantasy, who enjoys immersing themselves in fantasy, can pull mannerisms from that. When I read a really good book, I find myself taking on some aspects of those characters for a short period of time. So it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible that violence in video games doesn't, I'm just going to backhand you like the pimp did in this game that I was playing. But to say that violent video games are the cause of violent children, it's outrageous. I'm sorry. Fact of the matter is, violent video game sales have gone way up, and children violence has gone way down. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. So tomorrow is Friday here on the show. Friday, I'd like to answer your questions, open your mail, do whatever it is that you want to do. So I need you to submit questions either in the comments below to my email, which is chevee@thedailyshed.com. You can call in 304-602-7433. Leave me some questions for tomorrow. Whatever. You can ask me about me, my kids, my dogs, Jamie, tools, life, how to fix something, advice, whatever you want to ask. Ask away. Fire away. We'll do a Q&A tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Monday with a normal topic. If you haven't checked it out yet, thedailyshed.com/calendar. You can see all the upcoming topics and suggest your own through those contact channels, or even comment on upcoming shows. So thank you so much for being here. As always, I really, really appreciate you, and I will see you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact, wikipedia.org. What causes a penalty shot in hockey? In ice hockey, a penalty shot is a type of penalty awarded when a team loses a clear scoring opportunity on a breakaway because of a foul committed by an opposing player. A player from the non-offending team is given an attempt to score a goal without opposition from any defending players except the goaltender. Important note here, it does not have to be the person who got fouled. Anybody can take the penalty shot.